3 creepy Hawaiian urban legends you've never heard of. When most people picture Hawaii, they think of paradise. You know, perfect beaches, soaring green mountains, and that famous, warm, welcoming culture. But just under the surface of that postcard image, there's something else. Something much, much darker. For generations, the islands have kept secrets. Their chilling tales, whispered on the trade winds, stories of ancient spirits and vengeful forces that serve as a reminder that even in the brightest paradise, shadows will always find a place to hide. And these aren't just spooky stories you tell around a campfire. To a lot of people, they're warnings. They're part of the island's soul, a history that refuses to be forgotten. Tonight, we're peeling back that veil of paradise. We're going to uncover 3 of the most terrifying legends that Hawaii keeps secret. Section 1. The Night Marchers. Our first legend is maybe one of the most respected and feared in all of Hawaiian folklore, the Wakaipo, or as they're more commonly known, the Night Marchers. Now these aren't your typical ghosts. They're the spectral armies of ancient Hawaiian warriors, chiefs, and sometimes even gods. In life, they protected sacred lands, and in death, they're bound to that same duty forever. Their purpose is eternal: to guard sacred sites, march to the locations of long-forgotten battles, or escort the spirit of a newly deceased royal into the afterlife. The legend says that on certain nights, especially those dedicated to the old gods, they rise. They might come from their burial grounds, or even straight out of the ocean itself. The signs that they're coming are unmistakable, and they strike a primal fear into anyone who knows what to look for. It starts small, the distant rhythmic pounding of drums carried on the night air, the haunting call of a conch shell echoing through the valleys. Then you see it, a line of flickering torches appearing where no path should be, and getting brighter and brighter as the ghostly army gets closer. Some witnesses have even said the ground itself starts to tremble, or the air gets heavy with a foul, death-like smell. And these are not just mindless spirits. They're an organized, unstoppable force. Dressed in full battle regalia, carrying spears and clubs, they move with a terrifying purpose. According to the stories, their feet never actually touch the ground. They float just above the earth in a grim, silent procession, leaving no footprints behind, only terror. To cross paths with the Night Marchers is to meet a sacred and deadly power. The rules for survival have been passed down for generations, a mix of fear and deep respect. The biggest rule? Never, ever make eye contact. In their lifetime, these warriors protected chiefs who were so sacred that if a commoner looked at them, it was an instant death sentence. In death, that rule still holds. To meet their gaze is to have your spirit ripped from your body, forced to join their endless haunted march. If you find yourself in their path, you cannot be seen. The warnings are clear. Run, hide, do whatever you have to do to get out of their way. But if it's too late, if the drumming is already on top of you, your only shot is to show absolute respect. You have to lie face down on the ground, completely still. Close your eyes, hold your breath, and think humble thoughts. You're in the presence of royalty, and you need to make yourself as small and insignificant as possible. To stand up to them is to invite a quick, violent end. There is one tiny glimmer of hope, though. If you're lucky enough to have an ancestor walking in that ghostly army, they might recognize you. A cry of, "No!" which means mine, will ring out, and the procession will pass you by, leaving you unharmed. But if you don't have that ancestral connection, your fate is sealed. Personal stories really drive home the chilling reality of this legend. One account tells of some friends partying late at Kaina Point on Oahu, a place known as a jumping-off point for souls into the spirit world. Suddenly, their music was completely drowned out by the sound of different drums. They looked up and saw a line of torches coming down the mountain, moving impossibly fast over rough terrain that would take a person hours to hike. Terrified, they killed their lights and music, hid in their cars, and pretended to be asleep. As the procession passed, the air filled with the sounds of chanting and the crunch of sand. One of the friends still gets emotional talking about it, swearing they'll never go back there after dark. Another story comes from a kumu, a respected teacher, about something that happened on the Big Island. When he was a young man on a camping trip, he saw torches in the distance, covering ground in minutes that his group had spent the entire day hiking. The group leader knew exactly what was happening and ordered them all into their sleeping bags to lie flat and show humility. The kumu said he felt this overwhelming dread and a crushing pressure on his body before he blacked out. He woke up later soaked in his own urine, a testament to the absolute terror he'd felt. The legend of the Night Marchers is so much more than a ghost story. It's a living piece of Hawaiian culture, a powerful reminder that there are ancient forces and sacred laws that demand respect, and that some paths just aren't meant for the living. Section 2. The Curse of Pele. While the Night Marchers command respect through fear, our next legend is all about the wrath of a goddess. And not just any goddess. We're talking about one of the most revered and volatile figures in the Hawaiian pantheon, Pele, the goddess of fire and volcanoes. Her home is the Halemaumau crater at the summit of Kilauea, one of the most active volcanoes on the planet. She's both a creator and a destroyer, with a fiery temper that can literally shape the islands with molten lava. And she is, fiercely, protective of her home. This brings us to what's famously known as Pele's curse. The legend is simple and straight to the point. Anyone who takes a lava rock, a bit of black sand, or any other natural element from the Hawaiian Islands will be cursed with terrible misfortune. Pele sees the rocks and sand as her children, a physical part of her own body. Taking them is a huge sign of disrespect, and she's not exactly known for being forgiving. And we're not talking about minor inconveniences like losing your wallet or getting a flat tire. The stories tell of serious, life-altering disasters, sudden job losses, horrible accidents, shattered relationships, and even deaths in the family. The bad luck is said to hound the thief wherever they go, not letting up until the stolen item is returned to where it belongs. Now, skeptics might call this a modern myth, and they wouldn't be entirely wrong. There are no ancient Hawaiian chants or stories that specifically mention this curse. Some think it was made up in the mid-20th century, maybe by park rangers or bus drivers who were fed up with tourists pocketing pieces of the national parks. But whether its roots are ancient or modern, the belief in its power has taken on a life of its own, backed by thousands of personal stories. For decades, post offices in Hawaii and the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park have received a constant stream of packages from all over the world. Inside are lava rocks, often wrapped up with desperate handwritten letters of apology. People from Japan, Germany, and all across the US mail back the rocks, sometimes paying a fortune in postage, begging for the curse to be lifted. One woman wrote that after taking a rock in 1974, she met the man she would marry, who then made her life a living hell for 16 years. Another tourist who took a bottle of sand in 2007 reported losing her 2 dogs, her home, and her marriage soon after. They all tell a similar tale. Their lives fell apart after their trip to Hawaii, and the bad luck only stopped once the souvenir was sent back. The park gets so many returned rocks, over 2,000 pounds in 2020 alone, that they have a special area just to store them. Interestingly, park officials now ask people not to mail the rocks back. From an ecological standpoint, the returned items could carry invasive species that threaten Hawaii's very delicate ecosystem. Plus, since they have no way of knowing exactly where a rock was taken from, it can never truly be returned to its home. Beyond any curse, taking lava rocks is also illegal in national parks and is considered deeply disrespectful to native Hawaiian culture. Hawaiians believe that everything in nature has mana, a spiritual life force. Rocks aren't just rocks. They can be inhabited by spirits and are a sacred part of the island's foundation. Removing them messes with this sacred energy and desecrates the land. So whether you believe in a vengeful goddess or not, the message is pretty clear. Take pictures and memories, but leave the rocks where they are. The thousands of apology letters sitting in a back room at the national park are a chilling testament to the people who wish they had. Pele's curse is a powerful modern urban legend, a stark warning that disrespecting the land and the gods who live there can come with a very heavy price. Section 3. The Drowned Boy of Ola'a. Our last story takes us to the Big Island, to a small plantation village called Ola'a, not far from Hilo. Unlike the epic legends of gods and phantom warriors, this tale is quieter, more personal, and it comes from a real tragedy that has haunted the community for generations. This is the legend of the drowned boy. The story starts back in 1947. A group of kids from the village were playing near a local pond, a popular hangout spot surrounded by tall sugarcane fields. While they were playing, one of the boys, named Tanaka, slipped and fell into the deep water, disappearing under the surface. A frantic search started immediately. When divers finally found the boy's body, what they saw would be forever burned into the village's memory. He wasn't floating, and he wasn't just lying at the bottom. Instead, he was found eerily propped up on a rock, sitting completely upright. His eyes and mouth were wide open, and his body was swaying gently with the current, almost as if he were just waiting to be found. The image was so unnatural, so deeply unsettling, that it planted a seed of fear that spread through everyone who heard about it. Soon after the funeral, strange things started happening around the pond. People walking by, especially at night, would feel something tugging at the cuff of their pants, a cold, ghostly grip from below. At first, the villagers tried to explain it away. The sad cries they heard echoing from the pond at night, just the wind whistling through the sugarcane. But the older residents, the kupuna, they knew better. They whispered that the spirit of the Tanaka boy was trapped there, cold and alone at the bottom of the pond. They believed that because he died by accident, his soul couldn't move on. And to be free, he needed to find a replacement, another soul to take his place in that dark, watery grave. For years, the story was a cautionary tale, a local ghost story told to keep kids away from the dangerous water. But then, the legend took a horrifying turn. Decades after the first drowning, a father was walking near the pond with his young son. The boy tripped and fell near the edge. As he fell, he screamed to his father, crying that something was pulling him into the water. The boy clawed desperately at the muddy bank, but an invisible force dragged him inch by inch into the pond. Rescuers were called right away. When they pulled the boy's body from the water, they found him in the exact same horrifying position as the first boy, sitting upright on that same rock at the bottom, his eyes and mouth wide open. Miraculously this time, they were able to resuscitate him. He survived, but his story confirmed the village's deepest fear. The spirit in the pond was still there, and it was still searching. The legend of the drowned boy of Ola'a is a chilling mix of real-world tragedy and supernatural revenge. It taps into that primal fear of what lurks just beneath the surface, of unseen things in dark water. It's the terrifying idea of a lonely, desperate spirit whose only wish is to pull the living down to join it in its eternal, watery prison. The pond in Ola'a is no longer just a pond. It's a haunted site, a place where a child's tragic accident gave birth to a lingering, malevolent presence, forever waiting to claim its next victim. The Night Marchers, Pele's Curse, and the Drowned Boy of Ola'a. These stories are woven right into the fabric of Hawaii, passed down in hushed tones and late-night warnings. They remind us that the island's history is complicated, filled with as much darkness as there is light, as much terror as there is beauty. They're all warnings to respect the land, to listen to the old traditions, and to remember that some things are better left alone. Because even in paradise, the shadows run deep. What are some of the local legends from your corner of the world? Share your stories in the comments below. And if you want to uncover more secrets hiding in the dark, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You never know what we'll dig up next.